cut you off, but one of my very favorite callers is with us again tonight. It's Aryan from California. Now, folks, if you didn't hear last night's show, I had to cut Aryan off because he started getting silly, and I didn't want him to make a fool of himself on the air. I thought we were having a somewhat fruitful discussion, even if we weren't necessarily in agreement, and then he threw out the question, well, I suppose then you believe in the tooth fairy. And, of course, to take a discussion down to that level just really loses something. But, you know, Aryan is concerned that, as he perceives it, that I believe there's a Jewish conspiracy which has taken over the U.S. government. Well, before we bring Aryan up, I want to pose two quotations to him. One is from Professor Norman Cantor, an American Jewish academic, and he wrote a book entitled The Sacred Chain. And in it, he says, in 1994, Jews were only 3% of the American population, but their impact was equivalent to an ethnic group comprising 20% of the population. Nothing in Jewish history equaled this degree of Jewish accession to power, wealth, and prominence. Not in Muslim Spain, not in early 20th century Germany, not in Israel itself. He says the Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Harrimans, the Roosevelts, the Kennedys, the titans of bygone eras, they have been superseded by the Jew as flawless achiever. Interesting. But what's even more interesting is what Avraham Berg, very prominent figure in the Israeli government for many years and now a very big critic of Israel and its positions, Avraham Berg has written in his new book, Jews hold stunningly powerful positions and clout in the United States. The combination of the American state's power and the Jewish power in the areas of legislation, administration, media, law, business, culture, and entertainment have made the Jews a defining factor of contemporary America. He says, it is very difficult to be elected to high office in America against the wishes of the Jewish lobby. Financial and organizational resources, public support, legitimacy, and not least, the damage the Jewish lobby can cause to unwanted candidates turn Jewish involvement in American politics into a factor with strategic international consequences. Now, I would like to welcome Aryan aboard with this question. Aryan, you've heard what Avraham Berg and Dr. Norman Cantor have said. Do you consider that the promulgation of an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory regarding Jewish power in America?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, Aryan, I just read you those quotations.
Yeah, okay. So
and you're telling me that you have no idea what I'm talking about?
You start the call with a question, and I think you're doing this because you don't really want to give me a lot of chance to...
Aryan, I just asked you, what do you have to say about that quotation from Avraham Berg? Do you think that he's promulgating an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory about Jewish power?
I think lots of people have lots of opinions about lots of stuff in the world.
But Aryan, this is Avraham Berg, the former speaker of the Israeli Knesset. Are we going to do what we did last night, where you talk more and I get a few seconds? Go ahead, Aryan.
Yeah, I want you to think about something, okay? And this is for, I think, the other guy, too, who called me a California crike. Let's assume...
Well, why do you assume he was talking about you? We have a lot of callers from California, and we know that you're not Jewish.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
Why would you think someone was calling you a kike?
Hey, well, did he say kike? I thought he said crike or something. My bad. Maybe he was talking about someone else. That's true. Good point, yes. I think that's one of the most logical things you've said in this program tonight.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Listen, let me ask you something. Let's assume that the Jewish people controlled Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. How many hundreds of newspapers are there? Movies, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, whatever. All the things. They controlled all these things. Let's assume that this population, which is roughly 2% of America, was having a big influence on the rest, some of us. And let's assume they influenced President Bush, Obama, Pinocchio, Hillary Clinton, and anyone from Mars, whatever. If they're having all this power, is it even working that much for them?
Well, it looks to me as though it is. They seem to be getting away with genocide in the Middle East. Are they not getting away with it? They've killed 1,000 Palestinians in about...
Trying to wipe everyone out and just run the whole place. Why haven't they done it yet?
Well, you know why? Because there is still enough opposition throughout the world to what is happening there.
But what about their big, massive influence in America?
Their big, massive influence in America is obvious because the United States gives Israel billions of dollars every year.
And we give it to Pakistan, too. Are the Pakistanis influencing us?
We give it to Pakistan. We also give it to Egypt. And why do we give all the money to Egypt? Why do we give this money to these countries in the Middle East? It's because of the position. It's because of the position of the United States in the Middle East, where we have inserted ourselves there to advance Israel's hegemonic goals there, Arya.
Okay, now let's assume that's true. Why would we give it to Pakistan? Why would, of course, it is an assumption. It's not a fact. Why would we give it to Pakistan? Pakistan is not exactly Israel's friend.
Well, for the simple reason that Pakistan is a very powerful nation in the Middle East.
It's not a Middle Eastern country, my friend.
What's that?
It's not a Middle Eastern country.
Look, okay, I understand that. We could call it Central Asia, but let's put it this way, Arya. You know damn well what I'm talking about. You know that Pakistan...
It's South Asia.
Okay, Aryan, are you telling me that Pakistan is not part of the equation vis-a-vis the conflict between Israel and the Islamic world? Is that what you're here to tell me?
Well, hold on. According to you, we're giving them billions of dollars because of Israel. So you're contradicting yourself then.
No, I'm not contradicting myself. What I'm telling you is that the United States feels a need to try to influence Pakistan because of the fact it's a very fractious country, and we do have other interests in that part of the world that we need to...
If the Jews are influencing us, would we not give it to them because it'll affect Israel?
Well, actually, I'm glad you bring this up because, over dinner this evening, I was reading a very interesting book by an American Jewish writer named Robert Dreyfuss. Now, this book by Mr. Dreyfuss, I mentioned it on the program last night, and I pulled it off my shelf. Now, I'm looking for it as I scour around my apartment here, and I do believe I may have found it. It's, I think, entitled Dealing with the Devil. Now, I'm looking for the book, and I can't find it, but nonetheless, this is a very substantial book in which it points out that the United States, in collusion with dear little Israel, has continuously played footsies with Islamic elements in the Middle East. And part of that, as I've pointed out on this program many times, part of that has involved funding Islamic groups. Part of it has involved pitting various Islamic factions against one another. Part of it has involved pitting various Arab regimes against one another. Aryan, that's what it's all about. You're not a stupid guy, I don't think, but I'm here to tell you that anybody who knows anything about the history of the Middle East knows that the United States has continuously played ball with Islamic elements when it has been of interest to a combination of U.S. interests and Israeli interests.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're telling me, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. The Jews, 2% of this population, control most of the media.
Yes, they do.
Wait, hold on, let me finish. Influence most of Congress, the presidency, the House, the Senate.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay, hold on. And they influence our process with Israel, the Middle East, and Islamic terrorism, and yet they're so powerful, they don't seem to control us when it comes to giving money or groups like places like in Pakistan, which might affect Israel.
Wait, now repeat that last portion again, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Basically, if they control us so much, which, by the way, I hope they're not controlling me right now, but if they control us so much...
Now you're being sarcastic again, Aryan, and when you start to get sarcastic like that, you really start to lose me, and you start to lose even, I think, the support of those people out there who are listening who support your point of view. But go ahead.
Okay. If they're that big of an influence, I want people to think about this logically, and they're influencing our foreign policies, and basically they want us to help Israel, then if they're that powerful, wouldn't they technically basically tell us not to give money to a country like Pakistan, which might conflict with Israel?
Aryan, Aryan, I will repeat to you again. I have the book in my hand. The book is by Robert Dreyfuss, Dreyfuss. He is Jewish. He's a critic of U.S. policy towards Israel. His book is entitled Devil's Game. This book, Aryan, is 387 notes. The entire book deals with the fact that the United States, in conjunction with Israel, has in fact frequently supported Islamic regimes, Islamic fundamentalist groups, for a variety of purposes. Now, we are going to the break. If you want to hang on, Aryan, please do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Michael Collins Piper returning to you for these final few minutes. We have Aryan from California, and I will remind him that some years ago there was something called Iran-Contra, and Israel was up to its eyeballs in Iran-Contra, the arming of Iran. Israel was in the middle of it. We've been joined by Mark Glenn. Surprise call here. Mark, I guess you want to say something to Aryan.
Yeah, I just want to inject a little bit of reality to this conversation, given the fact
Reality?
given the fact that Aryan obviously is not. He has checked out of the hotel reality, and I will remind the people what you brought up discussing earlier in the show, Mike. This story about Olmert basically grabbing George Bush by the collar and saying, you will not vote for this resolution in the UN. And I'm going to quote right out of this story appearing in the Washington Times, where Olmert is quoted saying that when he learned the day of the vote that the U.S. would line up behind the resolution, I said, get me President Bush on the phone. They said he was in the middle of giving a speech in Philadelphia. I said, I don't care. I need to talk to him now. Bush got off the podium in the middle of his speech and spoke to me. I told him the United States could not vote in favor. It cannot vote in favor of such a resolution. He immediately called the Secretary of State and told her not to vote in favor. Now, since that time, as you mentioned, Mike, the State Department is saying that this didn't happen, but Olmert, when they went back to double check whether he stood by his story, he basically laughed off the repudiation on the part of the State Department. He said, absolutely not. It happened exactly that way. So I would ask our deluded friend here out in California, who I guess he models himself as the reincarnation of Andrew Mathis and wants to fight the wars for the Jews for them. How do you respond to this story involving Olmert basically telling the President of the United States what he can and cannot do?
Hello?
Yes, how do you respond?
We're all waiting with bated breath, Aryan.
Yeah, the last few seconds, my friend, their call screener came in, so I wasn't sure what you said. I'm not blaming him. But why is it okay for you guys to avoid my question and bring up a new question?
We've gone through this with you a couple of weeks ago. We know that when you've been asked questions directly, you have not answered those questions.
Yeah, and the reason I don't answer them is because I'll tell you why I don't answer them. If you listen, I'll tell you why.
What do you have to say about...
I'll tell you why I don't answer them.
Aryan, what do you have to say about...
I'll tell you why I don't answer them. You want to know why I don't answer them? I'll tell you why I don't answer them for several reasons. Number one, lots of times people don't answer my questions, and I think it's unfair to skip over them. And
I already answered your question. I cited the book by Jewish American writer Robert Dreyfuss.
Telling me there's a trend here I noticed on RBN. Many times when you try to give a logical reason about why this conspiracy theory is not true, not always.
We never, Aryan, we never said that there's a conspiracy going on here.
Okay, fine, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes, and I don't want to say always, sometimes, not always, people answer you with a reference to a website or a book. Anyone can make a website and make a book and just say, this is my source. Are you
refuting an author like Robert Dreyfuss?
Yes.
Oh, you are. Why are you refuting Robert Dreyfuss? He's a respected Jewish American journalist.
I'll tell you why. Because you said respected Jewish American. There are lots of respected Jewish Americans who write things that are opposite. You're picking and choosing what you want to believe.
In other words, Aryan, because you don't go along with it, it's not true. Aryan, you are really going to force me to bid you farewell for the last time.